Hello again, and welcome to another MarketingSherpa Marketing Research in Action. I'm Daniel Burstein, Director of Editorial Content, and I'm dragging to the studio again the lead author of this book, the MarketingSherpa B2B Marketing Benchmark Report, Jen Doyle. Jen is a Senior Research Manager here at MarketingSherpa. Jen joined me for a previous video where we discussed how challenges are growing for B2B marketers. Her research has shown that they're finding tactics that they previously used effectively to become less and less effective. That's a major challenge. So today we're going to look at one way marketers can improve their performance that Jen has identified. So Jen, you were very big on lead nurturing through your research. You found lead nurturing to be very effective. Do you want to tell us what you found?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're looking at here on this chart is the average lead generation ROI by use of lead nurturing campaigns. So looking at the darker colored bar, you can see those are the organizations that are currently using lead nurturing versus the lighter colored bar who are not using lead nurturing. And we saw a demonstrated 35% lift in lead generation ROI just by the practice of using lead nurturing campaigns. Now, you think 35%, but lead nurturing is one piece of a bigger picture. You have to identify your funnel, you have to get your scoring in place. And when you combine all of these strategies is when you really see the gigantic lifts, those 190% lifts in lead generation ROI. This is one piece of the puzzle, but definitely a critical and important piece. And one of the biggest challenges that organizations have when they're getting into a lead nurturing campaign is it can be really overwhelming to generate the amount of content you need in order to effectively nurture, because you have all these different segments that you have to nurture to, and you have to send them out over a certain period of time depending on how long your sales cycle is. So let's take a look at the next slide where we look at top tactics in creating engaging content, which you can apply for your nurturing campaigns. Certainly multi-channel messaging has been rated as the most effective tactic for creating engaging content. Now, one thing that we see, we're on the road and we're teaching our B2B workshops on the FUEL methodology, and we're meeting with marketers all the time, and one thing we see on the road is, okay, lead nurturing is email marketing, is automated email marketing, but think about expanding your channels for your lead nurturing campaign to really improve the engagement. How does your audience want to interact and communicate with you? Consider the first way that they came to you. Did they respond to a direct mail campaign? If so, obviously they liked your direct mail campaign. Perhaps send them another direct mail material in your nurturing campaign. So you can expand just beyond email for nurturing and use this strategy of using a multi-channel messaging strategy to really increase engagement.
Well, content is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and often hearing from marketers, they struggle with it. They're not sure how to create content. One thing I'm surprised that was so low here is allowing the audience to select their communication preferences. Something you talked about in our previous video is, marketers no longer have as much control over the buying process or the sales process as we'd like, as we had before. We used to, before the rise of the internet, before the rise of social media and a lot of these new technologies, be able to control a lot more because we had all the information. It was very difficult to get outside information other than, say, from analysts or a few other select sources. But now, the information is everywhere. So why do you think allowing the audience to select communication preferences, what marketers would find that so ineffective? Or do you think partly it's just because it's so challenging to allow them to do that?
I think that's part of it, definitely. Yeah. It is challenging to get that research sometimes. Also, I think that's a bit of a miss here in this chart. I think that's a little bit of a tactic that needs to be further up because in order to really meet your audience's preferences, you have to know what those are and be able to identify it. Unfortunately, a lot of marketers don't have the time or the resources to conduct that research. And, they sometimes, your sales teams or your management teams, whoever you're working with, oh, I know that this is what our audience wants, so we don't need to do the research. But that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes what you think will pan out, but you'll discover new findings from your research of your audience. So it's an important step.
Yeah, well, because it ties into me very much with the top approach, using a multi-channel messaging strategy. There's probably two reasons that works, right? One, you're just more likely to hit someone if you're hitting them in many different places, right? Mm-hmm. Like the old strategy, having a billboard up and a radio ad at the same time, and you're going to get people one way or another. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's because people likely consume media and consume messages and consume that content in different ways. So some people might love a video like this, or some people might prefer to read about this on the Marketing Sherpa blog, right? But there's many different ways, and marketers are clearly finding that very effective.
Yeah, and especially with the growth of mobile marketing, there are markets that prefer to receive their messages via SMS or on their mobile phone, and there are others who will prefer their email over that. So learning what your preferences for your audience are and, you know, connecting them in the way that they want to communicate with you, it can be so powerful and so effective. Okay,
so we want to lead nurture, we've got the content, but if you look kind of in the middle of the chart, the testing, the timing and delivery of that content, that's always a big question we have. How much should I reach out to my audience? So let's take a look at how often marketers are reaching out to their audience with those lead nurturing touches.
Yeah, this is a question that we constantly get, again, on the road, at our workshops, or via our webinars that we're doing pretty regularly. We would always get questions about how much nurturing is too much, and it's such a delicate dance.
Don't want to smother them, right?
No.
That becomes too much love.
Yeah, too much love can be a dangerous thing, I guess, with your touches. You don't want to inundate your audience with more information than they want. You don't want to talk to them more frequently than they want to hear from you, and it's a delicate dance. It's a delicate act to figure out. But what we've done to sort of help guide you in this process is provide this data. This is what our audience indicated. The majority are nurturing a few times a week, once a week, or once every other week. So we recommend that that's a safe place to start with your nurturing campaigns, but you're going to have to test different frequencies. You're going to have to see how different frequencies impact your various key performance indicators and how you're improving engagement over time with various frequencies. Because the challenge is you want to stay top of mind, right? But you don't want to inundate your audience with a frequency that is just too high for them, and they're getting annoyed and they're unsubscribing, they're opting out, and you've lost them. So one thing that you can do is you can balance your triggered blasts or your scheduled blasts of communications that you have going on, your regular communications calendar, with triggered blasts. In that way, your triggered blasts are going to be responding to your audience's actions that they're taking. They've either downloaded a white paper on your website or they've engaged with you in some other way. So by balancing triggered and scheduled blasts, you'll be able to stay top of mind and also engage with them at the time when they're ready and wanting to engage with you.
And marketing automation software, I imagine, really helps with the being able to trigger blasts and trigger communications based on actions of your customers.
Certainly, marketing automation is huge. We actually, you saw the demonstrated ROI lift for nurturing. There was another one for use of marketing automation software. But you can manage scheduled and triggered blasts via other tools as well. There are a number of email deployment tools that can help you do that as well.
And lastly, I would assume, there's not one right answer, which is, it seems what you're saying, but also there's not only not one right answer for each company, but not one right answer for each customer. So I'd assume where that customer is in the buying decision would affect how often you're reaching out to them.
Absolutely. When you're looking at, so segmentation is a very important foundation to any nurturing campaign. It's also one of the reasons why we need so much content, why it's so challenging. But when you're segmenting, you have to determine your buyer personas is what we recommend, identifying, the interests, the demographics and behavioral characteristics of your audience, but also balancing that information with the stage of the buying cycle that they're in. Are they early? Are they mid? Are they late? Do they need general thought leadership content that's going to increase engagement and interest over time for new buyers? Or do they need something like a buyer's guide that's going to help support that sales conversion later on in the funnel? So by using that multi-dimensional analysis of your audience and your segmentation, you'll be able to provide the right information to the right buyer at the right time.
Well, thanks for joining us again, Jen.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us out there in the internet world. You can go to MarketingSherpa.com to help you improve not only your lead nurturing touches and your B2B tactics, but every facet of your marketing campaigns. That's MarketingSherpa.com. We've got case studies, we've got how-to articles, and we've got marketing research. Thanks a lot.